Heyo, OmniDogs and Omni Kittens. It's OmniDog here with another video from OmniDog's Vault. And today we're going to be discussing absolutes from DC. Should you or should you not get the absolute? And I'm only going to be talking about absolutes that I have. I don't have every single absolute, but I have a lot of them. And I have some opinions. And they're expensive, absolutes are. So you have to sometimes make a financial decision, and the primary reason you want to upgrade or buy an absolute is the story and the art primarily so great that you want it in this huge format. So let's take a look at some things that you may say, I want that in absolute. So we will take a first look at, what was called the world's greatest superheroes, and now I think it's been renamed Justice League. This is something you need to get in absolute because it's Alex Ross art. And it's got a great story because it's by Paul Dini, who's great, but it's a series of stories: Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Flash, Martian Manhunter, Shazam, and the stories are all great. The art is great. This is an absolute that you need to get. And it is called, I believe, something like Justice League now. It was called the World's Greatest Heroes when I first got it, but it's got, and I'm not going to be able to get it in its slipcase, so it's going to have to go down here. It was called World's Mightiest Heroes. What was it called? The World's Greatest Heroes. Paul Dini and Alex Ross. You need it because it's Alex Ross art upgraded. Now, let me go to a book that I don't think you need the absolute for. I think you're fine staying with just trade paperbacks even, not even deluxes, because this is a complex book, and I think it's for fans only of the book. It's by Warren Ellis. I am a super fan of this book, so I immediately jumped at the chance to get this in absolute because I love the art, love the story, but I think casual fan, regular fan, talking about Transmetropolitan, it is an absolute work of art. It is an absolute great story, but it's complex enough that I think that a regular reader is probably going to be fine with this in just trades. And I don't know that it came out in deluxe hardcovers, but trades would be fine. This is a wonderful book. I love it, and I really wanted it in absolute form. I think it's just complex enough that maybe regular readers may be sort of like, because it's three of them and they're $100 a piece, and that's a lot of money to sink into a book that some people might feel a little overwhelmed by. I don't know. My personal opinion. Meh. Check out the first trade, see if you like it. If you like it, maybe then you can upgrade. But as far as I'm concerned, I think you're okay with just trades. Now, this is a sentimental favorite because it's my favorite run in the history of comics. That is Green Lantern, Green Arrow by Neil Adams. First of all, it's not Adams O'Neill, it's O'Neill Adams. They've got this wrong. O'Neill wrote it, Adams drew it with great inks by Dick Giordano. And this is a famous run that changed the course of comics history because it brought social consciousness into comics back in the 70s and was a personal favorite of mine as a teenager. So they do have this same exact run in a deluxe edition called Hard Traveling Heroes. So this is kind of up to you. I think it's worth upgrading to absolute, but if it's a financial issue, Hard Traveling Heroes is a good substitute. But I think the absolute is the way to go. So, absolute for Green Lantern, Green Arrow by O'Neil Adams, not the other way around. Here's a book that I just reviewed on Old Reader, New Reader with my friends Omar, Amanda, and Maddie. And here's a book that I don't think you need in absolute form, and that's not because it's a bad book. It's actually a really good book. It's Kevin Smith and Phil Hester's Absolute Green Arrow. And the reason I don't think you need... Well, that's right. It wasn't coming out. I had it coming out the wrong way. The reason I don't think you need it in absolute form is because this deals with the rebirth of Green Arrow after he is killed in Green Arrow 100. And Kevin Smith does a great job of bringing him back to life in a very complex story, very well done, very well plotted. I should do a review just on this book because I just read it for the first time, and it is excellent. Far better than Kevin Smith's Batman, which we won't talk about. It contains two main stories, Quiver and then blocking on the second story. It's like Sound of Crime or something. All right. It's the second story arc introduces onomatopoeia. And I don't think you need to have the second story necessarily in about onomatopoeia. You do need to have Quiver. That, and I have to be honest, I'm not the biggest Phil Hester fan, and I don't think you need it in oversized form. I think if you just went out, bought Quiver, you'd be fine. Quiver is a solid 9.5 out of 10 story. It is excellent, well thought out, well plotted, great story, but I don't think you need it in an absolute form. The story of onomatopoeia is about a 7 out of 10. Maybe you want to pick it up. Maybe it's a rental. It's okay. It's an interesting story. He's a good villain. But I don't know that it deserves to be in an absolute. So if I were you, I would just pick up Quiver. I don't think you need it in absolute form. That's my recommendation there. But I would definitely get Quiver. Great story. My next choice is going to depend on what you think of Frank Quitely's art. Because, which is a surprise to me, some people don't like it. Fine. It's a matter of personal taste. Art is subjective. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Hey, it's your taste. I happen to love it. So All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison, one of my favorite reads. I could reread this every 3 months for the rest of my life and be happy. I just think the world of this book, and I think this is 100% worth absolute format, because not only is this a great story, but I think the world of Frank Quitely's art. So to me, if you don't dig Frank Quitely's art, then obviously you don't want this in an absolute. But if you're a Frank Quitely fan like I am, pick it up. All-Star Superman is a definite 100% get this in an absolute format. All-Star Superman, one of my absolute favorite books. So this was kind of a no-brainer for me to pick it up. So it's all going to depend, obviously, like all comic books, on whether you like the art or not. Because the art can take you right out of a story, and if you don't dig it, you're not going to dig it. Now here's a book that's kind of controversial because we're not sure. Today is April 17th, 2019. If you're watching this sometime in the future, I hope they've invented hoverboards by then. We don't know the status of this book as of yet. DC has canceled it or something. We're not sure. There was supposed to be an omnibus or an extra deluxe or an omnibus plus. They announced something and then they canceled it and we don't know. And the book I'm talking about is Hush. I've got it. This was the very first Absolute I ever got, was Absolute Hush. I happen to be a fan of the story. Some people are not. You know, same reasons. They don't like the art, don't like the story, don't like the twist, whatever. If you have the Absolute, I would hang on to it. Because we don't know what's going on yet. The omnibus or whatever book that got announced was supposed to have all kinds of extra stories, was supposed to have lots of extra features and stuff. It got canceled. We're not sure if it got resolicited. It's kind of up in the air. So if you have the, this is what I'm doing. I have the Absolute. I'm hanging on to it because I don't know what's going to happen. If you don't have the Absolute, don't go out and get it yet. Wait to see what DC does. If they don't do anything this year, then, and you like this book, then go out and get the Absolute. But if they end up releasing this feature-rich, fabulous book that they've been tormenting us and tempting us with, then get that thing because it has more stories and features than this book does. I would, if you don't have it, don't get this yet. Get the new book that's going to come out that has so much extra. That's my advice there. Okay, so the next book, you know what? I don't know that this next book's in print, so I may not be doing you a favor by, let me see if this book is even in print. Da, 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 da. Do, 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 do. New edition. It's coming out. Okay, good. It's getting a reprint. Absolute Kingdom Come. Mark Waid, his magnum opus, one of the best things he's ever written, and he's written a lot of great things. And of course, Alex Ross art that is remarkable. This is one of the greatest comic books ever written, in my humble dog opinion. That's not even that good of a page for me to show you. But this deals with just an amazing story. Actually, I should take this up and read it again. I've only read it about 12 times, and that's not enough. This is just a great book. This is a no-brainer. It was out of print. Now it's going back in print in October. It already... it looks like it... Oh, brother. It looked like it went back in print of last year. Let me see what this says. Okay, yeah, it is in print. It's in print as of right now. Good. Get it. Absolute edition is exactly what you want of this book. Kingdom Come, you got to get it in absolute format. Must have. Here's a book. You don't need it in absolute format. There are 35 formats to get this book in. You've read it. You own it. You're probably sick of it. You don't need it in absolute format. You can just get a paperback of it. You probably already have it. I don't even know why I'm talking about it because everybody's already read it. And that, of course, is Absolute Watchmen. You've already read it 10 times. You already know the story. You don't need it in absolute format. I don't even know why I have it in absolute format. I think I bought this 5 years ago in a buying frenzy of like, I got to have everything in absolute format. I don't need it in absolute format. Like a deluxe would have been fine. The art's great. The writing's great. Blah, 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 blah. You know all about it. I've talked enough about it. Whatever. Now, here's an interesting book. I love this book. Brian Azzarello, Cliff Chiang's Wonder Woman. One of the best things to come out of New 52. This was a radical departure from Wonder Woman. I loved this book. I loved it so much. I love the art so much. I wanted it in absolute format. But DC did something interesting, and they announced an omnibus for it. I recommend getting the omnibus for it because omnibus still is oversized pages for that wonderful art, and it's a heck of a lot cheaper than 2 absolutes. Get the omnibus if you don't already have it. If you don't have it, get it. It's a great, great, great Wonder Woman story. You really need to have it. Without a doubt, it is one of my favorite Wonder Woman runs of all time. You definitely need to get it. And finally, this is a book like Watchmen. You've all read it. You all know it. If you're a newbie and you haven't read it, I'll talk to you alone. And that is Absolute Dark Knight. It's out of print, but you can still get it for a reasonable price as of right now on Amazon. Don't bother. You don't need to get Absolute Dark Knight for 2 reasons. One, this not only includes Dark Knight Returns, but it also includes the egregious Dark Knight Strikes Again. I can't believe the same guy wrote those 2 stories. One is the book that pulled me back into comics, Dark Knight Returns, and the second is something that almost pushed me out of comics, Dark Knight Strikes Again. It was so awful. Why I own this, I don't know. Just go out. If you don't own it, just get Dark Knight Returns in a trade, a deluxe edition, just something small, and enjoy that. Great comic book, blah, 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 blah. Everybody knows. It transformed the comic industry. Don't get the absolute. You don't need the absolute. You just need Dark Knight Returns and enjoy that. Revel in that. Marvel in that. It was 1984, 85, a time when comics sucked and it revolutionized the industry. Right. Okay? I was there. I saw it. It changed my life. I'm not kidding. It did. You don't need the absolute. Trust me on this. Trust OmniDog on this one. Just get the book, not the absolute. So that wraps it up, the absolute edition. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment. I respond to all comments. And please subscribe. Please leave a like. Hit notifications, the bell, so that you get notified whenever I leave a video. And as always, peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you for watching. Hit the wrong button.